Wednesday, fatigue, a short week, all kinds of complications. Mike Tomlin has his team ready.
It's a short one for us, a long one for Washington, and so we just respect that. We don't seek comfort. We realize that Washington doesn't care about our problems, or they're glad that we have them, and so we proceed with that understanding.
Okay, so while the game was being played on Wednesday, our friend Ryan Clark, our resident former Steeler, tweeted this: "I don't care what you tell me, the team playing in black today can't beat Kansas City." And because Twitter is an excellent medium for misunderstanding, I think people maybe have misunderstood what he meant by that. So let's dive into that. And at the same time, let's welcome the quarterback of our team. Mark Sanchez gets up with us early from the West Coast. Mark, awesome. But RC, let me come to you, because you know what happened. You saw what happened. The whole world blew that up. What did you mean?
Right. What I meant was watching the Pittsburgh Steelers not be efficient on third down, watching the Pittsburgh Steelers not be able to generate a run game. That concerns me. And when I watch that team, understanding that you have to score points in order to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, this Pittsburgh Steelers team could not, dropping punts and turning the football over, giving a team like the Baltimore Ravens an opportunity to score points because you couldn't stop the run or you weren't physical on the front line, as we've seen that team be throughout the season. That concerns me. And when I'm looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm not looking at them through the prism of being able to beat an undermanned Baltimore Ravens team. I want to know, can you win a championship? I want to know, at 11-0, can we project you to hoist the sticky Lombardi at the end of the season, which is what Mike Tomlin always wants, which is all he preaches. That's the end game. That's the goal. Every team doesn't have an opportunity to do that every year, but this team does. But if they play the way that they played on Wednesday afternoon, they can't. And they won't beat the Kansas City Chiefs. When they're hitting on all cylinders, I think they have the perfect pieces to do so, but not the team that we saw play this week.
I see. So what you were doing actually was a little sneaky motivational tactic. I had that one pegged right from the very beginning. Meanwhile, Bart Scott, you said something very interesting in our meeting this morning, because we're all sitting here talking about how critical it is that they get the 1 seed so they get the bye and all the rest of that, and you see it differently.
Yeah, absolutely. Because sometimes when you get the bye, you come off lethargic and you have a team that's been in desperation mode. I wouldn't be surprised if this, Steelers team and all their flaws are one and done. Me and Mark was able to go to the AFC Championship 2 years in a row, but I think the fact that we were able to go on the reason we were able to go on those runs is the fact that we were in playoff mode well before we actually got to the playoffs. So what happens is when you're in that desperation mode, you go in, but all the times that I've lost, it's really been when we were the favorite and we had that bye, because sometimes you come out lethargic.
Hey, guys.
And Ben is going to have to be able to be elite. Okay, go ahead, sir. I know you have a Super Bowl title.
Go ahead.
Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers and
Hey, Bart.
Yes.
Hey, guys, I remember that team that was in desperation mode every game. They played a Pittsburgh Steelers team that was not in desperation mode and had a bye, and they lost in the AFC Championship. Don't you do that, Bart.
Listen, we can't help that. We can't help that Schottenheimer didn't run the ball on first and goal for one with a 250-pound tailback.
Let's not settle all this. Mark, let's remember, however, the game he's talking about, the game RC is talking about, you guys did beat Tom Brady in his building to get to that game. And you also, Mark Sanchez, the year before that, beat Phillip Rivers, who had been coming off a bye on the road. You won 4 road playoff games. Do you think there is something to being the underdog, being the team that has to keep playing, being on the road? What do you think, Mark Sanchez?
I mean, that's all I've known in my playoff experience, so I can't tell you from any other experience. That made us feel like it was us against the world, that 53-man roster against that entire stadium. We're going on the road. We're road dogs. This is what we do, and we go embarrass somebody else in their own home. I don't think a bye week for the Steelers and being perfect this year, outdueling the Kansas City Chiefs, is a make or break for them. I think this is a good team no matter what. But don't forget, they have 4 really tough games coming up if you include Washington. But they still got to play the Colts. They got to play the Browns again. They might be sitting people by then. But who knows? This is a legit schedule other than the Bengals coming up. So these next 3 games, I mean, they can potentially lose 2 of those. And I wouldn't be surprised.
And the Washington game, you look at it and you say, look, Washington is playing better, RC. Plus, Washington hasn't played since Thanksgiving. They have 11 days to prepare for this game, and Pittsburgh has 5. I know Tomlin will use that as a rallying cry, but RC, it has to make a difference.
Yeah, I mean, when one team gets an opportunity to rest and the other team is playing, in a situation where it's kind of coming up faster than you're used to, there is a difference in recovery. There's a difference in your opportunity to prepare for the game. But there also has to be some adjustments made for having that long layoff, for having that long week, for having to adjust on the fly and get to that game against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Monday night. And Coach Tomlin just has to keep this team focused on winning and playing well against Washington on Monday.
Okay, so we'll leave this one there for the moment because let's look at some of the other big games this weekend. Let's go on the clock at some of the bigger games and figure out who the most important player on the field is going to be. Patriots-Chargers have a big game this weekend. Mark Sanchez, 30 seconds on the clock. Who's the most important player on the field?
Most important player, I'm going with the quarterback again. It's no surprise, but Justin Herbert. Last week, they get down to the goal line and they have a huge situation there. They run the ball. They try a quarterback sneak. A lot of that's on the OC. I mean, I wouldn't hold Justin Herbert accountable for that one quite yet. He's just a rookie. Anthony Lynn took a lot of heat and kind of owned that situation, but he's got a lot to learn in these situations. He's got to be sharp in 2 minutes. He's got to be sharp before halftime, trying to steal points before they potentially get the ball in the second half. So he's got to be lights out for them to win against the Pats.
It's an important game for the Patriots, who are not done yet. Bart, Rams, Cardinals, a monster game in the NFC West. Who's the most important player?
To quote Mark, the quarterback, Jared Goff, because he's the one who he has the most questions about. You talk about 16 touchdown passes, 10 interceptions. He's going to have to be elite. And I'm waiting for them to take the training wheels off of Jared Goff. I mean, we talk about Carson Wentz and how his star is falling, but we talk about a quarterback that played in the Super Bowl, but he's still getting the answers to the test from the head coach. I want to see him be able to step back and recognize coverages, be able to know where to go with the football, be able to take the next step. He's a $100 million quarterback. He has to start performing like one on a consistent basis.
That's a really interesting point, and it actually dovetails nicely to the next one because there's another $100 million quarterback who's on the field in a big game this weekend. That's Carson Wentz as the Eagles take on the Packers. RC, 30 seconds on the clock. Who's the most important player in that game to you?
It's Carson Wentz, and this is why you and Bart do great TV, because you set it up perfectly for me. Carson Wentz is going to lose or win this game. When Carson Wentz plays hero ball, when it works, that's the only way the Philadelphia Eagles can win, because they don't have enough people on the outside. They don't block well enough up front, and defensively they play inconsistently. But if Carson Wentz balls, they win. Carson Wentz turns the ball over. Carson Wentz takes sacks. Carson Wentz makes bad decisions. This team loses to the Green Bay Packers. He may be able to even play great and lose, but if he doesn't play great, it's going to be a blowout.
Sanchez, you see what happened? You got both of them to pick quarterbacks. That's what happened. That's the impact you have, I think, on this program. No question.
It's the influence, guys. It's the influence.
If he's feeling really good about it. All right, just starting this hour here, much more football as we go. Coming up, it is the most competitive and least competitive divisional race in the sport. Which NFC East team has the best chance to actually win a game this weekend? We're talking